Welcome to the CASIO G-Shock Mudmaster GG-1000. This is the Japanese version. It hasn't been released here in the USA. I think it most likely will be. So this packaging is Japanese. It's in the language, of course, Japanese. Module 5476. So I got this because it's darn handsome. I had to have one. I don't like analog watches. But this one is just so good looking that it was irresistible. So way back in 1995, CASIO released the first Mudman G-Shock. It was the DW8400, and it was a digital wristwatch. Then a couple years later, in September of 97, CASIO released an Anidigi Mudman, the AW570. And it seems that after that, they decided that they would reserve the Mudman name for the mud-resistant digital G-Shocks. So from 1998 to the present, all Mudman G-Shocks have been digital, no analogs. And we're currently on the third generation of Mudman. There was the 8400 that I mentioned, then came the 9000, and then the latest is the 9300. However, recently, it seems that in order to appeal to consumers in some countries where analog watches are more popular, like here in the USA, CASIO's been putting more focus on their analog-digital combos, or Anidigis. And rather than producing another Anidigi Mudman, they created the Mudmaster series. So this is a Mudmaster, not a Mudman. It's important to understand the distinction between, Mudman being digital and Mudmaster being combination analog and digital. And the Mudmaster first came onto the scene in August of last year in the form of the Solar Atomic triple sensor, everything but the kitchen sink GWG-1000 Mudmaster, which it's a great watch. It's not quite as handsome though. It's great. It has a sapphire crystal. It's awesome if you can afford it. But it has been common practice in recent years for CASIO to release an expensive solar atomic model like the GWG-1000 and then follow up with a less expensive version of the same model with either the multiband 6 atomic automatic time correction feature stripped away, or both the multiband 6 and tough solar features removed. Thus, we now have the new, for April 2016, G-Shock Mudmaster GG-1000. Right here, you're looking at it. And like I said, it's extremely handsome. It's handsome in pictures, and it's handsome in person. And you're going to want to have one. So this version, the GG-1000, is straight battery powered. There's no tough solar. There's no multiband 6. It does not have a front-mounted light button, so instead of 6 buttons, it has 5. And it has a glass crystal rather than the sapphire crystal that you'll find on the GWG-1000. But the upside is that it's about half the cost. It goes for, right now, you'll pay about $320. I think Arizona Fine Time has them on pre-order. So, compared to the $750 for a GWG-1000, that's a significant savings. I think once this is released here in the U.S., it'll probably drop below $300 rather quickly, and then it may even get down to, the Rangeman is now selling for like $180, $190, and it started out around $300. So I think this will probably get down to the $200. It depends on the popularity, but I think this will prove to be a popular G-Shock here in the States because people like analog, and they like good looking watches, and this is definitely that. So let's just go through the features quickly. It is mud resistant. The large buttons, you might notice that there are metal, it seems to be metal. There are metal pipes, Casio calls them pipes or cylinders, surrounding the buttons. And these are, you know, fitted tightly to the case. I don't know if they're if glue or friction fit is used, but the buttons are surrounded by gaskets. So between the button and this metal cylinder or pipe, there's a gasket, or maybe two, I'm not sure. I'm going to put a link on the screen where you can go to Casio's own, they have like a cutaway view of the case, which isn't really detailed, but it's somewhat informative. So unlike in the past where the buttons were covered over by a membrane, a semi-flexible membrane, which made the buttons hard to push because you actually had to push and depress the membrane, and the button was behind the membrane, and the membrane was fitted tightly to the case, and you know, the bezel went over and covered both the case and the membrane, and you know, those were hard to press. We all know if you have the, you know, Mudman digitals, how hard the buttons are to press. Yeah, this new design with the metal pipes and the gaskets, it definitely makes the buttons a lot easier to press. It also has shock resistance. It's a G-Shock, so obviously, and that normally means that it's designed to survive a 10-meter drop. So that would be 33 feet. So essentially you can drop it out a third-story window, and it should survive that and keep on running. It's also 200-meter water resistant, so that's 20 bar or 20 atmospheres. You can engage in any kind of water activity, including extreme surface water sports, scuba diving. The only thing you can't do is saturation or mixed gas diving. So anyway, it also has auto LED. It has an LED illumination feature. I don't know if you can see that. It has adjustable afterglow as well. You can either have 1.5 second or 3 second afterglow. It's a twin sensor, so it has compass and temperature. It also has world time, 48 city with UTC. It has 5 alarms. One of them is a snooze alarm. It has a 60-minute countdown timer, which is a kind of a simplified countdown timer. It's really easy to use. It comes set to 10 minutes from the factory. It has a 24-hour stopwatch, 1/100th of a second precision. It has a full auto calendar, which is good until the year 2099, so it knows what years are leap years, and it automatically adds the 29th day of February. In the digital display, you can have 24-hour digital or 12-hour. And it also has button muting, so you can make it so there's no beeping when you press the buttons. Near as I can tell, it has a 2-year warranty in Europe, but here in the US, you'll want to go to www.gshock.com, and down at the bottom, you can click on product registration, the bottom of the page, and apparently that's where you find out how long your warranty is. Because it varies depending on the model. Let's review the construction. According to Casio, the case is a combination of resin and stainless steel. So it feels like a kind of a hard plastic. That's what most people would call it. Don't exactly know what the composition of the resin is. The case back is pretty clearly stainless steel. I'm guessing that perhaps the buttons and the button pipes are stainless steel as well. There's no mention of aluminum, although the buttons and button pipes do kind of have an aluminum look to them. There's a little trim ring here around the crystal, which appears to be an ion-plated black IP, black ion-plated. It's glossy. The crystal, I think I might have mentioned this earlier. It's CASIO calls it inorganic glass, which apparently is the same thing as mineral glass. We commonly call it mineral glass. The buttons are great. They're awesome. They're big, and they have a knurled texture to them, so they really grip your either your fingernail or your finger. Because of their size and the rather large opening here, you shouldn't have a problem using them while wearing gloves, unless you're wearing really thick gloves. The lugs, you can see there's a hexagonal Allen wrench style socket head here. I was hoping that the strap attachment would be the same as with the GD-400, which has a full-length screw bar, which is, in other words, it has a shaft which goes all the way across through a hole in the strap. This, however, does not have that. I actually removed one side of the strap to find out. It has 2 screw pins, one coming in from each side. So once you remove those, the little wrist conformer thing here, which has there's a slight amount of pivot to it, but that comes off. And then there are 2 push pins. They're just these little pins that you can hook the head of them with a spring bar tool to pull them out. I wouldn't call them friction fit because there's not much friction. They actually can fall out. But that's what holds the strap on. Well, both the little push pins and the screw pins together hold the strap and the wrist conformer. It has a polyurethane strap keeper. The strap is polyurethane as well. It has a textured finish to make it look like cloth, but it's polyurethane. It has a nice large dual tang or dual pin buckle, cast stainless buckle. So there are 2 rows of holes on the strap. Makes it very easy to engage the tangs into the holes. It's very quick. So it's pretty quick and easy to put this onto your wrist and buckle it up. The case back is most likely a 4-screw type, except the screws are hidden underneath these wrist conformers. So here it is on my wrist. My wrist is about 7.5 inches. It's a big G-Shock. It really is quite big. I think it's even bigger than the Rangeman. It looks bigger. So here's the Rangeman and the Mudmaster side by side. I think the crystal, and the size of the crystal and the diameter of the face and everything is what makes it look bigger than the Rangeman, in my opinion. It's definitely very sizable. It's 92 grams, so there's a fair amount of heft to it, and that means that it wants to slide around. It wants to drop down on your wrist a little more than other G-Shocks of a lighter weight variety. As far as comfort goes, I don't know how you could get more comfortable. The wrist conformers help it to fit. It fits really nice to my wrist. Smaller wrists, it may not be quite so comfortable. I think, the heavier you go with a wristwatch, the more uncomfortable it becomes, and there's no real way to avoid that. For me, the heavier it is, the more I tend to cinch up the strap to try to keep it from moving around, and that makes it a little more uncomfortable, down here in the buckle area typically. The buckle is pretty much right in exactly the right place in the center of my wrist where I like it to be. So as far as a big watch goes, comfort is great. I don't know how you can get better than this. Let's take a look at the Illumination. The light button is up here, of course. It appears to be a single LED down at the 6 o'clock position, which shines out across the face and is reflected down onto the indexes, the markers. It's very bright, so you shouldn't have any trouble reading this at night. I was a bit surprised that there's no backlight for the LCD, so any information on the LCD, you're not going to be able to see that. Okay, so I just charged up the Neo Bright, and this is how it appears when the luminescent paint has been highly charged. This will last you about an hour, after which point you're probably going to want to use the light button. Theoretically, you can get more time out of it if it's really, really dark, pitch black, and your eyes are well adjusted. You may be able to see just using the luminescent paint, but you might as well just go for the light button and make it easy for yourself. Now it does have auto LED, and that means that if you press and hold the light button for a few seconds, you'll see an indicator. Yeah, it's down here. It's just the letters LT. It's very tiny, but that means that the auto light feature has been activated. And when you hold the watch roughly parallel to the ground and you tilt it towards your face, the illumination will automatically light up. Now that feature will automatically deactivate after 6 hours so that it's not constantly turning on inadvertently during the daytime when you don't need it, and it just, you're just wasting battery power for no reason. And you can manually deactivate it by, again, pressing and holding the light button for a few seconds. So how about a close-up functionality breakdown? You can see the buttons are labeled. This is light. This is search. I don't know if you can see, it says comp or compass over here for this middle button. And then over on the left side, you've got adjust and mode down here. As I mentioned earlier, on this shiny glossy ring around the outside, you've got 0 through 360 degrees for your compass reading, which is indicated by the second hand. And then, of course, you've got the analog numeral markers for 12-hour. And in here, you've got one digital display and another section of digital display down here. And then you've got this little indicator, which tells you what mode you're in. It's kind of cool because the hands are motorized. All the hands are motorized, including this little mechanical indicator. So the light button, of course, turns on your lume. And if you press and hold it, it will activate the auto light feature, which is indicated by the tiny letters LT down here. And you press and hold it again, it'll shut that off. Okay. And this button here is just for the compass. So as soon as you press it, it will go into compass reading. Now I haven't calibrated the compass, so I don't know if it's anywhere as close to accurate. You also have a reading up here in the digital display telling you the exact degrees, and it's hard to see. It's one of the things I don't like about analog digital watches is the hands are always covering stuff, information that you want to see. This button down here is for temperature. So I have it currently set to Fahrenheit. The hands are blocking out. You also set it to Celsius. Unless you have the Tokyo city code as your home city code, then it automatically switches to Celsius, and you can't have it on Fahrenheit. I think it's against the law in Japan to use non-metric units. Yeah, so pressing it again just puts you back into timekeeping mode. Then over here at the bottom left, you have the mode button. So that just switches you from one mode to another. There's a high-pitched beep when you get back to the home screen. Pressing and holding it, yeah, that's like a quick return to home screen. So if you're in another mode and you just want to get back to the home screen, if you press and hold the mode button until you hear that double beep, it just instantly takes you back to the home screen. So you don't have to scroll through all the modes to get back there. The adjust button, if you press it momentarily, you can either have the month and day displayed up here, or you can have the time in digital. So it should match what your hands are showing here. So this is 5:05 and 17:05 is the military or 24-hour equivalent of 5:05. So if you press and hold the adjust button, the second hand automatically moves to 12 o'clock. But this is where you set your home city, and it actually displays the full name of the city, which is kind of nice. I'm in the Mountain Time Zone, so I have it set for Denver, but you can set it for any one of the 48 city codes. So here's London. This is daylight savings time. There's a little DST indicator up here that's kind of hidden behind the minute hand, but you can turn daylight savings time or summertime on or off. This is where you do your switching between either 12 or 24 hour. So there's a PM indicator up here now so this is in 12-hour display mode. Here you can adjust the seconds. You can adjust the hours. You can go up and down using these two right side buttons. You can adjust the minutes the same way, up and down. And this is the year. So this is your full auto calendar. You can set that anywhere from 2000 to 2099. So it knows when the leap years are. It automatically adds the 29th day of February and keeps your days of week matched up with your months and days and so on. So you can manually adjust the month and the day of the month. And this is for your button muting. So if you have mute selected, then your buttons won't make any sound when you press them. And now they do make a sound. And here's your variable afterglow. You can have 1.5 seconds indicated by LT1 or 3 seconds indicated by LT3. And push the mode button to get from one setting to the next. So if I'm happy with London, when I press the adjust button, it will change the time. And as you can see, the motorized hands it'll take a while if there's a big time difference. They will also move backwards if you're going backwards in time. Let's take a look at the world time mode. So it's currently set for Denver. If you press both the light button and the search button together, it'll automatically take you to UTC. Unfortunately, you can't go westward or backwards with the light button. So you can only move forward or I guess eastward from city to city. There's 48 city codes. And of course those are being displayed down here, and it'll give you the full name of the city if you stop and wait. Delphi. I don't even know what that is. Kathmandu. And for each city code independently, if you press and hold the adjust button, you can turn daylight savings time on or off for that particular city code. It won't affect any of the other city codes. You might notice the marker is showing world time down here on the mode indicator. Oops, I missed one. So this G-Shock has the swap feature. Okay, so my home time is currently set for London. So right now I'm in world time mode, as indicated by this arrow here. And if you press the upper buttons on both sides simultaneously, it will swap your home time for whatever you have selected in world time. And now it will begin the motorized hand movement in order to, because the hands always indicate your home time. When you're in world time mode, the hands don't change with the city code that you select down here. So it doesn't matter what I do with the selection of city codes. It'll take a while for these hands to get back to where they're supposed to be to show the correct time for the Mountain Time Zone or Denver, Colorado. Now for the stopwatch mode. Hit the mode button down here in the bottom left twice. Showing stopwatch ST. It's a 24-hour stopwatch. It has 1/100th of a second precision. Right here, there's seconds, minutes, hours. Like I said, it's 24 hours. It shows, I believe, tenths of seconds down here on this little animation. When it gets to 23 hours, 59 minutes, 0.99 seconds, it then will start over again at 0. So it zeroes out every 24 hours. Otherwise, it keeps running. And the adjust button resets it. If you press the adjust button while it's running, you can do split times. CSPL down here, which just freezes the display. The stopwatch is actually still running in the background. So press the adjust button again. It shows you what the elapsed time is. Every time you press it, it just freezes the display. So you'll have to write them down if you want to do lap times or something. If you want to do first and second place finish, you press the adjust button once, and there's your first place finish, and then press the search button down here at the bottom right, and that's your, well, it's still showing the first place finish, but when you press the adjust button, it shows what that final stop time was, or the second place finish, and then you press the adjust button again to reset it. It doesn't have auto start, so yeah. That's the stopwatch mode. Now let's take a look at the countdown timer. Well, you can't see the little hand there, but it's pointing towards timer on the mode indicator. Now from the factory, it's automatically set for 10 minutes. And so if you press the search button, it starts running. And it doesn't show tenths of seconds or hundredths of seconds. It just shows full seconds. It's a pretty simple countdown timer. It's kind of more like what you find on an analog watch. And yeah, press the search button again, stops it, and then reset up here. If you press and hold the adjust button, you'll see that the minutes are flashing. You can go backwards or using these two buttons. You can go up or down. And it's settable for up to 60 minutes. And it starts over at 1 again. So you can only set the minutes. You can't set the seconds. It's a simplified countdown timer. And you get the high-speed beep with this one. It automatically resets to what you had it set for originally. It doesn't have auto repeat options or progress beeper. But it's pretty handy, easy to use. Now let's take a look at the alarm mode. Pressing the mode button, of course, to switch to the alarm mode. You've got 5 alarms, but pressing the search button switches from one to the next. The 5th alarm is a snooze alarm, and this is hourly signal or hourly chime. So if you press the adjust button, you can turn that on, and there's a little bell symbol down here. It also shows that it's on. It gives you a double beep at the top of the hour. It's not adjustable, it's always top of the hour. Yeah, so that's just on and off. The other alarms are just straightforward daily alarms. If you press the adjust button momentarily, shows that it's on. These indicators here will always show no matter what mode you're in. So it's currently set for 6 a.m. It'll sound every day at 6 a.m. If you press and hold the adjust button, you can change the hours up or down. And you press the mode, you can change the minutes up or down. So this just sets your alarm time. So now it's set for 7 a.m. It's turned on. And all of these are the same. Alarm 2, Alarm 3, Alarm 4. They're all the same as that one I just showed you, Alarm 1. And then the 5th one is a snooze alarm, which works the same way. It just means that when it sounds, at whatever time you have it set for, you can press a button to stop it from beeping, but then it will beep again 5 minutes later, and it'll do that up to 7 times. If you want to shut it off permanently, then what you need to do is press and hold the adjust button to go into the adjustment mode. No matter what screen, for instance, when your alarm goes off, you'll probably be in the timekeeping mode like this. So it doesn't matter if you press and hold the adjust button until you have that flashing. It will it'll turn off the snooze, so you won't have to keep hearing it every 5 minutes. The other way, of course, is to go to the alarm mode and turn it off. So that's the alarm mode, except for the test feature. If you press and hold the search button, that lets you know what the alarm sounds like and whether it's working properly, or at least whether the beeper's working. Okay, so normally with most G-Shocks, the breakdown of the modes in operation would be done, but given that this is a twin sensor watch, we have 2 modes left to go. And they have their own dedicated buttons. That would be the compass and the temperature. So let's take a look at the temperature mode first, because that's an easy one. You just press the search button when you're on the home screen, and it shows 76.4 Fahrenheit. It shows temperature down here, TEMP. Now you can switch between Fahrenheit and Celsius. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The sensor is inside the watch. So what it knows is the internal air temperature inside the case. And it takes a while for that to equalize with your environment or the ambient temperature. If you're wearing it on your wrist, then your body temperature is going to affect the temperature of the watch considerably. So you'll need to take the watch off of your wrist and leave it out for like 20 minutes. Not in direct sunlight, because sunlight will cause it to become warmer than the surrounding air temperature. Temperature is kind of a novelty feature of wristwatches, because it, for that reason, that it doesn't really show you the actual accurate outdoor temperature. And this is good for 10 to 60 degrees Celsius or 14, that's plus 14 to plus 140 Fahrenheit. So in really low temperatures, it's not going to tell you what the temperature is either, so it makes it somewhat less useful for the outdoorsman. If the temperature reading is beyond what it's capable of measuring, you'll see hyphens up here. It automatically reverted to the timekeeping mode. It measures every 5 seconds, and it only stays in temperature mode for a minute or two. So if you want to change your units, you first of all, you want to make sure that you see temp down here, and then press and hold the adjust button at the top left. And now this is actually calibration, so you can adjust if you feel that the temperature shown by the watch isn't accurate, even though you've left it out and off of your wrist for 20-30 minutes. You shouldn't need to, however. So you want to make sure that you have a very accurate source of information. If you want it should be accurate from the factory. So you can go up and down and adjust it to what you think the temperature should be reading. If you press both these buttons together, it will turn the calibration off, and then you get the factory calibration. So yeah, and now pressing the mode button makes the units flash, and here's where you can switch between metric and imperial, and Celsius and Fahrenheit. If you have your home city set to Tokyo, it will automatically change to metric Celsius. But yeah, pressing the mode button again goes back to calibration, and that's it. That's the temperature mode. So now we're going to have some fun. This is the compass mode that we're about to go into. It's hard to do a review of the compass mode because it's so complex. I'm not going to be able to cover everything. You're going to want to, the easiest thing, in my opinion, is to download the PDF manual. I'll put a link up on the screen here where you can download the manual for module 5476. And because there's a lot of information about the compass mode that I can't really cover. I mean, covering the compass mode is like doing an entire watch review in and of itself. So of course this button over here is a dedicated compass button. And when you press it, you go into compass mode. It takes a second or two before it starts producing a reading, and it keeps taking a reading every second for 20 seconds. So as you can see, as I turn the watch, it's updating. And the second hand is pointing towards magnetic north, unless you have the declination adjusted. And down here you have the cardinal and ordinal expression of the direction. Up here you have the azimuth expression, which is the number of degrees between 0 and 359, which is shown on this little ring around the outside here. So currently it's all about the 12 o'clock position. So if you're headed down the highway, you want this 12 o'clock to be pointed towards where the highway is going, you know, the direction that you're actually traveling in. And so your second hand will be pointing towards magnetic north, and your 12 o'clock will be pointed in the direction that you're going, and this will tell you what direction that is that you're traveling in. If you're trying to find your way around in the outdoors, then you really want to have a map, and you're going to want to do a calibration. It's called a bidirectional calibration to make sure that you're getting accurate readings. And you'll also want to know what the current magnetic declination is for where you are, so that your second hand will point to true north rather than magnetic north. I'll put a link on the screen. There's a good website from the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, where you can get the magnetic declination for whatever latitude, longitude coordinates you're located at, and it's up to date. You know, it's more recent than other sources typically. So right now I'm still in compass mode, but because 20 seconds have gone by, it's no longer taking active readings. That's why you see these hyphens here. And now it automatically reverted to timekeeping mode. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to do a bidirectional calibration. So you hit the compass button over here, and then you press and hold the adjust button. And now you want to hold, what I usually do is hold it like this in front of me, take it off your wrist and hold it like this, and eyeball it to get it as level as you think you can. You want it level with the ground, and you want it pointing in any direction. It doesn't matter. So what you do is it shows the number 1 up here. That means it's ready to calibrate for the number 1 direction. So I'll press the compass button and wait. You want to hold it and wait until it says OK. It takes a while. There, you notice OK. Now it's asking for the number 2 direction. So now what you want to do is rotate the watch as exactly as you can, 180 degrees. And then press the comp button again and wait. And it says OK. Okay, so now the bidirectional calibration is done. And now what you want to do is set your magnetic declination. So you press the adjust button, press and hold it rather. Okay, so now you're in bidirectional calibration, but you press the mode button now, and this is showing the magnetic declination. And you can go east and west. So there's 7 degrees west. Now I know because I checked with the NOAA website. I used their magnetic declination calculator, and I know that it's 8 degrees here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Now it changes over time. Back in 2001 it was 12 degrees. A few years ago it was 10 degrees. Now it's about 8.25 degrees. So if you press both these buttons together, it'll turn the declination adjustment off. So I'm going to get it back up there to 8 degrees. Okay. So now my second hand is pointing towards true north. So it's taking the magnetic north and then adding that 8 degrees east to it. So it should be pretty close to pointing to true north now. And 12 o'clock is pointing in the direction that I'm actually headed in. Now the other feature that the compass has is bearing memory. So I'll reactivate the compass. And down here it's got the cardinal ordinal directions. And what you can do is press the search button. First of all, point your 12 o'clock towards your objective, or whatever direction you want to travel in, and then press the search button, and it will store that that degree, that azimuth direction down here. And now you can look at this this little animation down here, and it will show you whether you're pointed in the bearing that you have remembered. Well, I got to reactivate the compass. Okay. So when you see a solid line across here, that means that you're heading in the right direction. If you get off course, the little line shows you the direction that you need to turn in. So if it's to the left, you need to turn left. If it's to the right of center, then you need to turn right. Yeah, it means that your objective is over here, you know, certain number of degrees to the left, so you have to go this way. Okay, now you're back when you see that solid bar, you're headed in the correct direction again. Now, if you're headed more than 60 degrees, then it'll be way over here. If you're heading in exactly the wrong direction, you'll get a dark arrow on both sides. Okay, there it is. Well, it's hard to find, exactly 180 degrees off, but it means you're going backwards. Basically, you're going exactly backwards. But that's just a feature, to help you stay on course into whatever direction you intend to head in. And that's the compass mode. Like I said, there's a lot more detail in the manual. For instance, when your compass is active, you won't be able to use the light, and I think the alarm. If the alarm sounds, then the compass is automatically suspended, just so it's not using a lot of battery at the same time. So there it is, the new for April 2016 GG-1000 Mudmaster. Now, if you check out Casio's advertising for the GWG-1000, apparently, if you're a smoke jumper, firefighter that fights wildfires, forest fires, etc., then this is exactly the right watch for you. It's definitely very large, it's very manly, and it's very handsome. Personally, if I'm going to go total outdoor adventure, I'd probably want the Rangeman for the extra sensor and for just the ease of use. One of the frustrations with analog is that a lot of times the hands are in the way of being able to see your digital information. But if the cool factor with this watch, I gotta say, probably beats the Rangeman. They're both really cool, but this takes it up a notch, I think, especially if you like analog watches. And here in the US, that seems to be what gets people's eye. They like the analog watches. And, almost the bigger the better. So hopefully this will be coming to the USA. Hopefully the price will be coming down. And I expect to see these on a lot of wrists in the near future. So anyway, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing if you do. And I'll see you next time.